What's up, kiddos? Today we're going to be talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis. So, the Cuban Missile Crisis occurred in 1962 when the Soviet Union sent medium-range missiles to Cuba around the height of the Cold War. But first, a little context. Previously, after World War XI, II, the relationship between the US and Soviet Union deteriorated quick, and to make things worse, for the first time both sides had nukes now. So tensions were high, and fear of the destructive power both sides possessed was even higher. Nobody knew what this war would look like, but both sides knew it would be bad. But the US had one big advantage over the Soviet Union. You see, the US had friends right here, but the Soviet Union's friends were all over here. And you might notice that not only does the US have more friends, but they're a lot closer to the Soviet Union, and there aren't really any Soviet-friendly countries close to the US, meaning the US can put a whole bunch of short and medium-range missiles right next to the Soviet Union that could easily hit a whole bunch of big cities close to the border, and the Soviets just couldn't. A huge American advantage. But this all changed in the year of 1959 in Cuba, where a guy by the name of Castro and his friends successfully took over the government and gave the Soviets a perfect place to put short and medium-range nuclear missiles, which they could. Obviously, neither the Soviets nor the Cubans told the US government, but America found out via a spy plane, and the American public was horrified when they found out. Because using these missiles, you could hit 94% of the US, and the only real major cities in the lower 48 that you couldn't hit were Portland and Seattle, meaning just about everyone was in danger now. Not just like a couple big cities on the East Coast the Soviets could hit with long-range missiles. Now, if nuclear war happened, all of America would feel it, and it was horrifying. The US responded quick to this threat, and they imposed a full naval blockade of Cuba. They didn't call it a naval blockade, they called it a quarantine, but it was a naval blockade in practice. And at the time, those were used exclusively in times of war. These days we use them for anything. They're just kind of fun. But back then, it was serious business. People were worried. Would this mean World War III? Schools started doing nuclear launch drills, telling kids that if you duck under your desk, you'll be able to survive a mushroom cloud. Yeah, I don't know about that. But the point is, people were worried, and they were taking decisive action quick. This is arguably the closest the world ever came to a full-fledged nuclear war. The US came very close to invading Cuba. People debate how close, but it was pretty close. The options were considered. But what's even scarier is that a Soviet nuclear submarine off the coast of Miami had mistakenly believed that a nuclear war had already begun. Two of the three senior officers gave the go-ahead to fire a nuke at South Florida, but the third senior officer said no. And that man saved the world from a nuclear war. Pretty cool. In the end, things cooled down after the US and Soviet Union engaged in a series of peaceful negotiations with the leaders Nikita Khrushchev and John F. Kennedy. Eventually, it was negotiated that the US would remove the nukes it had already possessioned in Turkey, and the Soviets would remove their nukes from Cuba. And the whole world breathed a sigh of relief, except for Castro, who secretly wanted a nuclear war to happen to destroy America. He didn't care if the rest of the world got destroyed along with it. Kinda crazy. But either way, things calmed down after a while. I'm sorry my voice sounds like this. It's been a hard college season and I got finals. I'm guessing this video won't do too well, but it'll be interesting to see what it does do, just for fun. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I'll see y'all later. Bye.